Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I'm going to show you today how I made a card, and normally I would have a sample of that card to show you right off the bat. But we had a card class yesterday and both of my samples are gone. So my guess is that one of the people in my class inadvertently picked up the samples and took them off. So I don't have a sample to show you. So I'm going to start with what we need to make this card. And I'm going to make a shaker card. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break from the new material. And I'm making something that's out of the old catalog that's going to carry forward to the new catalog. And I'm using the Jar of Love, and the die set for this particular stamp set is Everyday Jars. And I keep mine on these magnetic sheets that I get from Stampin' Storage, and I mark on there what the name of the die is and how many dies I'm supposed to have, so I can make sure that I get them all back where they belong. And so I'm using the largest of the jars. I'm using this little jar lid here. I'm using Hello Friend, and then the other thing I'm using is, and I'm using the die cuts for these two pieces. And let me show you the pieces that we need to make this card. I used Flirty Flamingo. It's one of the returning colors, so this is kind of fun since I already had some on hand because it was part of the in color suite from last year. Then you need actually 3 pieces of Whisper White cardstock. 2 of them need to be 4 by 5 1/4, one to layer on the front of the card and one to layer on the inside of the card. So you need a piece of scrap that's big enough to cut out the jar and the lid. Then I have a piece of acetate to go over my little jar to make the window so that I can make this a shaker card. Now, there's very few pieces that go to this, but it is a little involved in that. I'll show you what we're going to do here. I have my stamps mounted, and I have some black Momento ink here. So I'm going to first make an impression here. Let me get my Pierce mat here. And I'm going to make an impression of my jar here on my piece of scrap, and I'm going to leave enough room all the way around for my die and put that right down here and get a good impression of my jar. And there we go, have a nice impression there. And then I'm going to do that same thing with my lid. And there's a lot of surface on this one, so and one of the ways you can tell, because my stamp is so stained now, it's kind of hard to see through, and I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to move it in the light a couple different directions. You know that this is completely stamped up when the surface of the stamp is shiny because of the ink, and it's shiny all over. Then you have probably enough ink on there to make a good image. So I'm going to put my jar lid just above my jar so that I can cut both pieces out at the same time. Okay, so that is my stamping, at least to this point. So then what I'm going to do is use my dies, and I'm using the die that will cut out this jar in total. And then I'm going to also cut out, let's see, I've got a little piece that I've already cut out, this little piece in here so that I can put my acetate behind that and make my little window. So this is what it looks like when you put all 3 pieces through at the same time. So, and I learned a trick the other day, and I'm going to have to go back and search the name of the woman who talked about it. And she suggested that you get better die cuts when you place your, use washi tape to put down your dies on your stamped image, and then run it through this way with the blade side up, and that you put a nice clean, let's see, grab my sandwich here so you can see what I'm talking about. So what I have here is my base plate and my thin die adapter, and then a nice pristine clean cutting mat here. And then you would put this down, and that's why it's all taped this way, and then put your cutting plate on the top and run your sandwich through this way. And the jury's out. I'll have to tell you how it goes. But what she said was that even on the intricate dies, you got absolutely clean cuts. Things come out right away. And it's because instead of stamping into or cutting into a very firm multi-layer sandwich here, that you're cutting against it when you put it this way. And this is the plate that has give. And so as the result, you're supposed to get crisper and cleaner images. And so far it seems to be working. It's supposed to produce less warp on your cutting plate. And instead of mixing them up again so that you have kind of rough plates down and rough plates up, especially for foils, you want your good side on a really nice pristine plate so that you don't mar your foils. This looks like it has some promise. And I've started just doing it recently, and I'll let you know how it goes. But this is the sandwich that you would make to do it this way. So in any case, I've already done all of that. So let me get this out of the way. And what I have done is I have already cut my pieces out. So here I have my jar and my lid. Now then, the way this card is set up, I'm going to raise this piece on dimensionals, and then I'm going to cut the jar image out one more time, like right here. And we're going to put some sequins inside, and so it looks like they're spilling out. And in order to do that, you have to do a die cut, like I say, across this piece here as well. And so then there's one more piece that you have to die cut, and that is your acetate image. So you're going to cut one more jar piece out of this piece of acetate. And so the piece of acetate needs to be, I made mine 2 1/4 by 3, and that seems to be a big enough piece to cut your little jar out of. So to form, I have my little acetate piece of jar cut out, and I have a card front here where I have already cut out my jar. And see, there's my jar, sort of cattywampus here so that it looks like it's spilling out. So what we're going to do to put this together, once you have your pieces all cut, this is pretty fast. So what I'm going to do is just use my silicone mat here and put some glue on the back of my jar. And then I'm going to put my jar image here of the acetate and try to get that as close to the jar image as I can. And so there we go. Now our jar has a little window, so we'll be able to see our shaker pieces through the inside of it. And you want to keep this piece as pristine as possible, because if you get a little glue on this, it's pretty hard to get off. Okay, so there we go. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of our foam adhesive strips here. And this is what the package looks like. And you get 2 sheets yes, 2 sheets of the foam adhesive strips, and you can use all the sheets that are the little strips that are in here, plus you can use the edges around the outside. This one is just about finished, and now these can be turned so that you could go all the way around your image without a break and without cutting, but I prefer to come across the top here, and I do a little bit more cutting with the method that I use, and that's just so that I can get a more precise cut without worrying about trying to turn this, because it's fairly thick. So I'm going to butt this next piece right up against that edge, and with the size sequins that we're using for this, it's not as important. But if you're using glitter inside your shaker, then you definitely want to make sure that you have this absolutely butted up, because those little bits of glitter can escape almost any little tiny opening. So I have a tendency to put pieces on mine so that I make sure that I get things butted up against other things, and don't try to necessarily turn, although you can, and people did it in class yesterday very successfully. So I'm going to continue putting my adhesive strips around my jar here, and it looks like I'm going to need one more little tiny piece to complete my end here, and so I'll take a small piece from this last strip here. All right, so this is my last piece, and I'm going to butt it up against that piece and see where it would be butted up against this one, and trim that last piece. There we go. And there I've got a pretty good seal all the way around my little jar. I save all little pieces of this because you just never know when you might be able to use them. So the next thing I'm going to do is I decided to do a little color wash on the front of this card because it looked kind of plain to me. So I'm going to put some ink in my lid here and use my aqua painter here, my water brush, and put a little bit of water into this ink here, actually quite a bit because I want kind of a mild little wash here. And I'm just going to go across the card here and put a little color wash on the front of this card. There we go. That seems to be just fine. All right, and that gives a little bit of a background on this. Then the next thing I'm going to do is do my stamping on here. And what I did was I took the words "Hello Friend" from the stamp set here. So I took the "Hello Friend" here, and it's done in the font that some of these jars have if they have labels, and so that's kind of a fun thing here. So I'll close that up and bring my Momento back, and I put my "Hello Friend" sort of centered here on the top of this, and I want that to dry a little bit more. So maybe while that's doing that, I can prepare the inside. And what I'm going to do is use the stamp from the stamp set that says "You fill me with happiness." And so I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to do my stamping down a little bit from the top and in the center, getting it as close to centered as I can. There we go. And then I'm going to take a little tiny bit more of this color wash, since I still have a little bit of water and ink in this lid. And I'm just going to add a little bit of the color wash around these words and try not to get into the black. Okay, so there I've got a little bit of color wash. Now, what we did in class is I used a bit of ribbon, and it's old ribbon. I'm still using stuff out of my stash, and you might even have a little bit of this. And I think we've got some new Flirty Flamingo ribbon in the new catalog. But this was an old ruched ribbon, but it matched so perfectly I decided to go ahead and use it. So what I did was I put a little bit of snail along the ribbon and put it underneath the words. Now you could accomplish the same thing with a piece of Flirty Flamingo cardstock that you just cut to fit right across there to make a little bit of a border and give yourself a little different look here for the inside of the card. But I had this and I'm interested in using it up. So there we go, that's so far. So this now should be nice and dry, and it looks like it is. Warped a little bit with the water. So I'm just going to use my bone folder here to straighten it out a bit. Then I'm going to do my stamping here with the Momento and put my hello friend right here in the center at the top. And make sure I get a good inked impression along both of those words. And pick that up, and there we go. Now, I have found that sometimes you don't get a perfect impression, and if you haven't used your Stamparatus to do this, which you very easily could, you can just fill in any little bits and pieces with your black marker. And although this is a pretty good image, I don't think I'll have to do that. But if you didn't get it down perfectly and you haven't got your Stamparatus yet, or you don't have one, you can fill in a little bit with a black marker, almost, or even a black ink pen would work. So there we go. I have that done now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece up on dimensionals. And I'm going to put the normal dimensionals I would in the corners of my card. But because I've got a cutout here, and I want my little jar to set inside of this cutout, I'm going to set some additional dimensionals around the jar to support it so that it doesn't collapse on me on the inside of the card. So a few more dimensionals than I would ordinarily place here, but I want my shape to be supported. So there we've got our piece, and I'm going to set that in place here on my card front. There we go. And you'll see the dimensionals have helped keep this raised just a little. So now I've got my jar that we completed earlier, and I'm going to take my dimensional backs off of the tape here. That's all ready to go. Now I'm going to take my sequins here, and I'm going to put my sequins in place right here on the interior of the jar. Remember, you know, your instinct is to put the dimensionals in here, but remember you have to turn that over in order to get it to stick down. So you do have to put your dimensionals on the inside of this piece first, and then put your window down. So there I've got quite a few quite a few sequins in there, and there are sequins all over my house now. Okay, so I'm going to put my jar down in the space that I cut out for this and inset it just a bit on the inside of my card here. And there we've got our little shaker, and everything is in here and in place. So now what I'm going to do is take the lid, and I didn't want the lid to be completely flat, but I didn't want to raise it on dimensionals. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, I'm going to need these again in a minute, but I don't want to take the chance of knocking them around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some glue dots on the back of this lid. And what I'm going to do is put a couple of glue dots on top of one another. So 2 on top of each other on either side. There we go. And then I'm going to put my jar lid just down here on the bottom of my card, as though I had opened the jar and just laid these down. Now, what that means is that lid isn't flush against the card. It's raised ever so slightly by that 2 layers of glue dots there. So I'll bring that up so you can see it. And you can see that it's got a little bit of a raised detail, not very much, it's just not flush. And got our little shakers going there. So the next thing I'm going to do is finish decorating up this front of the card. And so what I'm going to do is take a handful of these, and it was fascinating to watch people in my classes. They struggle to pick up these little tiny sequins and put them in place. So I have been thinking about it, and I've come up with a solution. Sorry guys, it's a day late for the class, but for next time we're all set. And one of the things I did was I had people put down a little dot of glue on their craft mat here, on their silicone mat, and just put down a little glob of glue there. And then what I was having them do is use a pair of tweezers and pick up the sequin and hold it and then put it in the glue and then place it. And I was watching, I think it was Jenny Hall. In fact, I'm positive it was Jenny Hall. And what she did was she put a glue dot on the back of her pokey tool, and then she dabbed it around on her hand so that your finger oils take some of the glue or some of the sticky off, and she used it to pick up the item, put it in the glue, and then set it in place. I thought that was brilliant. So there we go. So now you can pick up big ones and little ones, put a little bit of glue, and hopefully get them off of here and get them put in place. Maybe the little ones are a little tougher, but then I can maybe use my tweezers to make that happen. So there we go. So works best with the larger ones. But again, just dabbing a little bit of glue and then putting this in place. And what I did was I put a bunch of these in place as though they were spilling out of the jar. And that kind of look appealed to me. You know me, I don't do a lot with cute, and certainly not very cute. But this little this little jar intrigued me, and I liked the idea of this, and so I thought I was just going to go ahead and, like I say, I don't usually do things that are real cute, but I thought this one was kind of attractive. I didn't get any glue on that one apparently. So here we go, putting a few of those in place, and then I took some of the others of them and put them in place around the card. And we did have, out of the old catalog from the Bubble and Fizz, so still available maybe, are those large sequins that have the adhesive back that you could use to do this kind of thing with as well. And I did take those out for some of the people in the class because some of them were getting a little frustrated with picking up and putting down sequins. But I think this has merit. This is going to be a better way to do that going forward. I'm going to put one more, I think, on here. Just to add a little bit of extra bells and whistles, or decorations, if you will. Okay, that one didn't get enough glue, so I'm going to try that again. There we go. All right, so there is the front of our card with its little shaker. And then on the inside of the card, what I did was, let's see, this piece doesn't want to stick down, so put some more adhesive there. And do exactly the same thing here. Put a few of these sequins down sort of around this upper part of the card here to add a bit of decoration. There we go. Now then, this piece needs to go on the inside of the card here, and because I've just put those sequins in place, I'm going to use a little liquid glue to put this piece down. So I'm just going to put some liquid glue here around the edge and a bit on the inside and get this piece set down on the inside of my card. There we go. Let me hold that in place for just a second while that, and I can see I've got a little bit of glue oozing out of that side. If you use Tombow and you do get some ink out the sides, you can always use a glue eraser to pick those up and have them go away. Okay, so now I've got, let me just put these little sequins back in the case. And if you're one of my customers this month, you got a box of these sequins in the mail from me, probably within the last couple of days. So here's a way you can use them, put them to use. All right, so that is the project and the card today. I just thought that was a cute and clever use of some of the sequins, and I'd gotten this stamp set and die set quite some time ago now, and I had just never gotten around to putting anything together to use it. So it was kind of fun to be able to do that today. So there you have it. That is the project for today. A shaker card, Hello Friend, with a You Fill Me With Happiness message on the inside, and then we've got the sequins and the wash to tie the inside and the outside together. So that is the project for today. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today and visiting. I do so appreciate it. And don't know if I said that the winner of last month's prize draw was Jackie Serbo from Peyton, Colorado, and she won the embossing kit. And the prize draw for the month of May is going to be the 5 new in colors along with the markers that go with them. And the in colors and the markers, see, I think I've got a set of the markers right here. Yes, here they are. Here are the 5 new in colors. And they're such pretty colors this time around. We've got Pineapple Punch, we've got Call Me Clover, we've got Blueberry Bushel, this lovely lipstick, and Grapefruit Grove. So it's the 5 in color stamp pads plus these 5 markers in a set for the prize draw for this month. And if you don't already have a demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator, and or you could join my team. And I'd be happy to have you do either of those things. And everything here is available to order because this is a set. Both the dies and the stamp set are carrying over to the new catalog. However, we have 3 weeks left in the old catalog, the old annual catalog, so you could order this stamp set and the die set together and save 10%. And they'll carry over to the new catalog, but they'll be separate items and will only be able to be purchased separately. So that's it for me today. Again, thanks for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with more projects and more cards. Bye!